Hello and welcome to this week's IG Live. Today I'm excited to be talking to author Natasha Tripplett. We're going to be talking about her brand new book that just came out, The Blue Pickup. So as you know, we usually are on here every week, usually at this time, and we bring you interviews with the creators of diverse children's books. So we're happy that you could join us if for any Instagram or on our YouTube channel. So thank you for joining us and for supporting our nonprofit that helps us elevate the voices of these diverse creators and give you a look behind the scenes. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for joining us today. I know things must be busy. Your book just came out, and I know I've seen you have all these other events going on, so I'm glad it worked out that you were able to talk with us today.
Me too. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, why don't we go ahead and jump in and you can introduce yourself and tell us what was your journey to becoming an author?
Yeah. I'm really excited to be here, first of all, and thank you. My journey to being an author it started actually when I was a little girl. My mother used to take me to the library every week, and I would get a stack of books. And then when I got old enough where I could go by myself, I would ride my bike to the library and take out a stack of books. And so I was always reading. Every week, that was my routine. And I just really loved the way that reading kind of transported me into a new world. And at that time, I was trying to write my own poetry, as young kids often do. And I just loved the way that words sounded and just loved words and stories. And so I was always writing. I always had a notebook in my nightstand, writing down phrases that were great. And as I got older, I was like, okay, how can I really transform this writing into something that's meaningful to me? So I started writing for school newspaper, all that kind of stuff through college. And I had a really good friend. Her name is Dorina Lazo Gilmore Young. And she was she was my college newspaper editor. And I wrote for her, and then she had a book published, a children's book published. And so I called her up and I was like, wait, what is this world? And she was like, join SCBWI, you have to figure this all out. And so I did, and I just started writing and writing and writing and writing. So that was when I talked to her, that was back in 2006, I believe. Wow. So it's been kind of a journey, and I just kept writing, going to conferences, doing everything I could to make my craft better. And here I am, finally last week, got a book published.
Yes, it's amazing. Before we get to the book, because I want to make sure we have time to talk about that, I also wanted to talk about your background, because I know you said that having this multicultural background, that has helped you bridge gaps that usually divide people. And I love that, because I think a lot of times it's usually seen as like that challenge that you have to overcome. So what do you hope that kids, especially like your readers, take away from it about how it can be an advantage?
Yeah, I think for me, I was able to be in spaces where I could understand people who were coming from different viewpoints, because I was always put in that middle space between cultures, so to speak. And I really want kids to understand that being multicultural, multiracial can be an advantage, because sometimes, the world doesn't know where to put you, right? What are you? Who are you really? And they say things that are can be kind of hurtful at times. But if we can get to the point where we can realize, hey, we live in a world that, especially today, can be really divisive. And if we can kind of, be that middle person to help people understand each other, that's really how I kind of see my role. And I want to empower kids to embody that space, because I believe that we are positioned for unity. And as our world continues to mix over and over again, and we are creating a whole new population of multicultural people, I hope that there's more understanding, more love and generosity poured out to people, and that kids will actually feel empowered and proud to live in that space. So that is my hope with really inspiring children.
I love that. And as one of your beautiful message to send to children, it is so beautiful and so empowering, and something I think we really need now more than ever. Yes. And so talking about your book, The Blue Pickup, which just came out, congratulations.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Tell us all about it and what was the inspiration behind it?
Yeah, this book is a book after my heart, because my background is I was adopted into a Dutch Protestant family, and I grew up in a community that looked nothing like me, that I could not, see my own reflection reflected back at me. And so I embodied that space. But as an adult, I was able to connect with both sides of my birth family. And my birth father's side is from Jamaica. And so I was able to write this book that was set in Jamaica. But I also wanted to incorporate my adoptive side of my family, where my grandfather was a really special person in my life. We just had this amazing bond, and he had this blue pickup. And so I remember he would be fixing it and fixing all kinds of cars, actually, and tinkering around in his workshop. And I would just follow him around, whatever he was doing. And we would ride in that blue pickup, and everywhere we went, we would turn down this street, and he would tell me a story about a family member or a friend or somebody in his past who lived down that street. And those rides were so special because they were just filled with history, filled with storytelling. And he was a very happy, smiley, jokester kind of a grandpa. And so it was just fun to just spend that time with him riding in the blue pickup. And so as I become an adult, I now own that blue pickup. And I was able to spend time having it restored. And so now I get to drive around where I live in that blue pickup. And I thought, you know what? This truck deserves a story. And so I was able to, again, bridge those two sides of my own identity into one cohesive story. And I wrote The Blue Pickup, which features that truck and is also set in the country of Jamaica. And all of the people who are named in the book are actually members of my family in Jamaica. So that makes that story really special to me too, because I have a really huge, loving, warm family on that side who have completely embraced me. And I am, forever grateful for them being able to help me with that side of my identity. So I wanted to honor them with being in the book.
I love that, and I love how you've incorporated both sides of the family in that. And I'd seen pictures of you posing with the blue pickup truck. I didn't know that that was the truck that's in the book. That's amazing.
Yes, it is the truck.
And also that you're honoring this special relationship between a girl and her grandfather. Why did you choose to focus on that? I mean, this intergenerational. We know that that's so special. What made you want to focus on that?
It's interesting. Sometimes I feel like as writers, our stories choose us more than we choose them. And what I'm finding in my own writing is stories of kids and their grandparents keep coming up. As I'm drafting, different stories, I'm like, oh, wow, here we go again. Another story about a child and their grandparent. And so I don't know that I chose that as much as it chose me. So it is an interesting thing, but I love that we get to honor that generation by bringing them into books. And a friend of mine was telling me recently, it's kind of neat if you think about maybe even like that older generation of gifting them picture books, because, or even like having, you know, picture book readings with seniors, because that brings up a lot of nostalgia for them as well. And so I think it's kind of neat, you know, to feature them and to honor them in that way in a book.
Yeah, I love that. And like you said, like as a way, we often think about picture books as being just for kids, but really not. But I hadn't really made the leap to think about seniors, to share it with them. That's really special.
Yeah.
And you also have another book coming out that I know it's this spring, I think April, the Juneteenth Is.
This
Oh,
is my book coming out in April, on April 9th. I got to work on this book with Daniel J. O'Brien, and he is an amazing illustrator. As you can see, his art is fantastic, and he's also an amazing person. We've got to spend some time together. I'm so excited about this book because it really highlights one family's experience with the holiday, and it kind of sheds light on allowing us to view that holiday as a celebration, as well as acknowledge some of the history that's been painful. And so I'm really excited about that book.
yeah, me too. And I love that now that we are seeing more books about Juneteenth, especially, I don't know how to phrase this, but sometimes it feels like now that it's become like more of, you know, it's a national holiday, there's a danger of it just being another holiday and people not really understanding the significance. So I love a book like yours. What do you hope that readers take away from it? I know you've said you don't want it to be just a holiday, but also a cultural legacy. So what do you hope they get out of it?
Yeah, so I feel like one of the things that has been conversation lately is there's this idea that, you know, African Americans or the Black community, that we need to reject the idea of being American because of how we are viewed as, you know, by what I believe is actually a small segment of the population. They're just really loud. That really, you know, don't want to accept integrating, you know, our culture into American culture. Like we're seeing this a lot with the books that are being banned, and just the attempt to rewrite history. And so I know that it has left a really sore mark within the Black community, and feeling like, hey, do we really belong? Are we isolated? And my hope is that this book can, number one, shed light onto this holiday, this really important holiday, by people who don't yet understand it, who are still learning and furthering their own education about it. But then also that will allow members within the Black community to be able to reclaim this American identity and value our own contribution to American history, and be able to rewrite that narrative and say, no, I'm not going to accept what you are trying to put on me. We are American, and we are going to stand for that, and that's that. And so I really hope as a cultural legacy we're able to pass that down through our communities and value all people.
I love that. Yeah, and that's what, like you said, that's so important to have these kinds of books. And I know you've talked about how difficult it is being in the publishing industry as a woman of color, because you're still dealing with, even though it's improved, it's still dominated by white men. You deal with imposter syndrome, which is why I think it's so important for us as readers to be able to support the authors that we love. So what are some things that we as readers can do to show our support? I think sometimes we don't realize how important that is. You know, we're just reading the books, or maybe we don't think about how hard that is for someone, say, like you or other women of color. What advice would you give to people?
Well, the first thing I want to say about that is even though there are lots of spaces that are dominated by white male authors, I believe that their voice is also still important. But what I don't want is for that to become the standard by which we measure all other voices. So there is enough at the table for those voices and other voices. And I feel like, you know, as you said, it's dominated by that, and we need to make space for these other voices. And it's so important to support, you know, authors of color, because, you know, it is a very lonely space writing and then having that pushback a lot. So some of the things that I find very helpful is, you know, of course, when you support authors of color with your dollars and buy their books and show the industry that their voices are important, their experiences, their view on the world is important enough for you to spend your money to support that. I also think it's great if you can even like gift those books, like buy for yourself, yes, but then gift those books elsewhere. Like teachers need to have these books in their classrooms, school libraries need to have these books in their classrooms. So even if you can't buy it, hey, talk to your local librarian, talk to your school librarian, and try to get these books in the school system as well. And then a simple thing that doesn't require any money at all is write a note of encouragement or whatever it is. Email those authors, let them know that you've seen their book, that you support them, that you're just happy that they're writing, whatever it is that's on your heart. Email us because we love that. Or if your kid wants to draw us a picture, like I love kid art and I love art in general, but kid art is so fabulous. I will keep that stuff. That means something to us. So if anybody's listening and you want to email me a picture of your kid's blue truck, I would love that. So yeah, that kind of stuff is huge.
I love it, especially the last one I wouldn't have even thought about. So that's a great, and the libraries I have found our local librarians are usually very responsive if you ask for some, and some even have like a formal system where you can request books that the library purchase a book. So, and I know, sorry, I didn't tell you about this ahead of time, but I saw recently that you had done an interview with, I can't remember, I want to say Rosebud Collective. I don't really,
writers. Yeah.
yes, that, I mean, because I know for you, that seems like that's something really important, that finding a community of other authors of color to really support each other. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I just think that it's important to have kind of like a support group, if you will, where you can get together and share things that are maybe, you know, concerns for you or things you're struggling with, or even share your highs, your, you know, things that you're excited about, just to get together and hear other people's input and support in those things. And one of the things that's been really special to me in that group and other supportive writing groups that I've been a part of is the way that they celebrate your successes. Mm-hmm. And that's so important because, like I said, I'm in my writing space by myself creating content. And so every day it's me and the computer and sometimes the dog. And that can be a very lonely space. So when we have opportunities to get online or a Zoom or whatever and talk to each other and bounce things off of each other, it's really important. I also have an amazing critique group where we meet once a month, and it's writers. We actually have met in person now, but we were like a year and a half never even seen. I don't even know how tall you guys are, like, because we would meet on Zoom every month. But they're amazing writers and they push me to be a better writer. So critique groups are also invaluable at the support as well.
And just keeping an eye on the time, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I would love for you to be able to talk a little bit about other projects that you're working on. I don't know if you have other books that are coming out soon or some projects that you're still have in the works.
Yeah, so I have the Juneteenth book coming out in April, and then I have 2 more books that will be coming out in 2025. Mm-hmm. One of them is called Planted with Love, and it's a little boy's journey with foster care. Mm-hmm. And really like shows how just like the experience is for the child, but then also shows a really loving, understanding parent, foster parent in that story. And my background is, like I said, I was adopted, but I was also an adoption social worker. And so I did therapy with children and families who were both in the foster care system and who had been adopted. And it's so important for parents to have those models and guides as well. So that book's coming out. And then I also have another book in 2025 called Downtown Doors. And it is about food insecurity, homelessness, and how a little boy's journey in that space, how he's able to give back and address those issues even as a young child. So those are 2 more books that'll be coming out next year. I'm in the process of trying to write a middle grade novel. And I say that with kind of that vibe because I feel like I'm inadequate to do that. But I have some wonderful mentors who are helping me along the way, and hopefully we'll get there. But that's a completely new space. And you might think, oh, you're a writer, you can write anything. Not true. I know how to write picture books. Right. I can do that well. But when you cross over into other genres, there's new rules and craft things to learn. So
and so many more words.
Yeah.
A middle grade novel versus a picture book. That's so much more content.
It is, which in some ways is actually easier because you can explain things more. In picture books, you can't explain anything. So the words, that's going to be what it is, but just like knowing the craft of it, it's a completely different beast. So I'm excited about that.
Yes, I'm sure it'll be wonderful. And when those come out, we'll be sure to share it in our stories. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. Anybody who's watching, if you joined us late, we'll have this up on Instagram in just a few minutes and then later on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.